This is Feminist Wellness, and I'm your host, nurse practitioner, functional medicine expert, and life coach, Victoria Albina. I'll show you how to get unstuck, drop the anxiety, perfectionism, and codependency so you can live from your beautiful heart. Welcome, my love. Let's get started. Hello, my love. I hope this finds you doing so well. This week on the Feminist Wellness podcast, we are continuing our conversation all about love. It's February, and I thought, why not, right? So we've talked to Lily about dating, Danielle. We were going to talk about sex, but we ended up talking about love and trust and relating. Beautiful conversation. Last week, I introduced you all to my wife, Billy, and we talked about like 4,000 things. And this week, I'm introducing you to several of my closest friends. And we are talking about the importance of friendship, of platonic love, of having humans in your life who say, I love you, who show up for you, who accept you, cherish you, adore you. My beauty, my angel, I deeply believe that your circle, the people you actively choose to keep around you in your orbit, should be a source of encouragement, positivity, a place to vent the negativity. Though, as soon as I said that dichotomy, I'm not even into it, but I think you know what I mean, right? Your circle should be the people who lift you up, who raise you up, and who hold space when things really genuinely feel like garbage so that you can process it, so that you can move through it, so that you can be present for the realness with the witness of someone who loves you and who has your back. Our reenactment wounds, our inner child wounding, our attachment stuff, it doesn't come up in the same way with friends as it does in romantic settings. It's just how brains and psyches, how nervous systems work. And so our friends are a beautiful place to practice the ways we want to relate when we're in a romantic setting so that we can bring all of those best skills to bear in dating, when dating is a thing that feels challenging, or being in a romantic relationship, right? As it often does for those of us who are living in emotional outsourcing. And you might be like, oh girl, I'm fine. But friendship, it is a wild gift. And I deeply believe our friends should support us to become the best version of ourselves possible. Our favorite people should support us in becoming our favorite. So I want to invite you to really consider who you're keeping in your friend circle and why. This comes up in Anchored all the time, right? People share, I am running with this crew I always ran with in the past, and they drink a ton and I'm really not into it, but I don't know how to step away. Challenging, right? Those kind of things come up a lot. And what I want to remind you of is that you deserve love and respect. And settling for anything less is a choice that you don't have to keep making. And I phrase it that way and very specifically because given what we came from, given our nervous system settings, age 0 to 7, which is when our nervous system gets its initial operating system from our environment as children, putting up with, tolerating, accepting BS, not being treated well, not being made important, feeling like a burden, feeling like a bother, feeling like also ran, whatever your story is, that might have been all that your nervous system had the capacity for in your teens, 20s, 30s, 40s, whenever you are. And what I want to say is this: you can shift, you can change, you can grow. You can shift the capacity within your nervous system to be with good, to be with love, to be with care, to receive. Danielle and I talked about that. Receiving was so challenging for me for so long. And doing the somatic work, somatic experiencing, sensory motor work, doing the work I now share with clients through Anchored made all the difference and really helped me to be able to open my heart and to live from my full open heart so that I could not just give and give and give and give and give, but could also receive love and care. And so this week, we're going to be doing these little vignettes, these very short conversations with several of my nearest and dearest, my closest, my for real ride or dies. And I can't wait. I can't wait to share these conversations with you. They said very nice things about me that I wasn't expecting. I thought we were just going to talk about friendship en general. And with that said, Matt, we just say, I love you 1,000 times a day. And it's just so magical. And I want that for you. I want you to be surrounded, not by dozens of adoring fans. I mean, have that if you want, but I'm not into that. Sanae talked about this. You'll hear it in a minute, but I just need a small crew of really dedicated ride or dies. And I've built that over the last 20 plus years, and I could not be happier. And I want it so much for you. And it's part of the package deal in Anchored, right? You step into Anchored and you're introduced to these 20 plus incredible humans, these amazing women who are so excited to meet you, to get to know you, and to be your friend. So without further ado, here are my best friends. Thanks for listening. Hello, Dr. Sanae Kusari.
Hello, Victoria Albina.
Hi. How are you?
I'm great. Nice to see you.
Are so great. It's so nice to see you too. Thanks for coming on my show.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah, I'm very, very excited. Like my little cheeks hurt with happiness already. Oh. Hey, so I asked you on the show because we're talking all about platonic love, friend love, the importance of non-romantic relationships for filling our hearts. And I love you so much. And I think it's our 10-year anniversary, like pretty soon.
9 going on 10.
9 going on 10. Okay, great. Well, close enough. Close enough.
We're going to have a big bash for our 10. So I think it's really important to know.
I think we should have like a really big bash. What should we do?
Yeah, definitely dumplings.
We love dumplings.
We do love dumplings.
We love dumplings. We also love levain cookies.
We do.
Yeah.
So a dumpling cookie themed extravaganza.
Okay, great. I'm into it. My pancreas might think differently.
Yes. We'll deal with that after.
Who needs a pancreas? That's fine.
Yeah.
So you told me there's a story you wanted to share on this theme.
Yeah. So I wanted to share my experience of meeting you because I think it really encapsulates what platonic love means for me. So I moved to New York City from Toronto, Canada, and it was about a year after finishing residency. And, residency isn't known for being like the most cozy environment. So I moved to New York City and it was this whole new environment for me. And Victoria and I met at work. She worked in the office right next to me. And, she like burst into my office with all this like warmth and energy and super funny and this cool person from Brooklyn. And honestly, I was like, this for real? Is she like testing me? Is this like the beginning of like some kind of hazing thing? Is she about to like steal my chair? Like I'm still in this like residency vibe of like, I don't know what's about to happen, but it just like didn't stop. Then we're like sneaking out during lunch to like go hit the sales rocks. It was just like so amazing to be hit by like so much unconditional love and acceptance with really no strings attached. And that's what platonic love means for me is there really isn't much like compromise there. It's just like, you are who you are. I am who I am. And like, I'm an introverted introvert and you are not.
I'm an Argentine.
Yes. And we just like get along, you don't ask me to be anything else and I don't ask you to be anything else. And you've just made my life so much richer and you've made New York my home, and that's one of the reasons I ended up staying, even though I was only supposed to stay here for 3 months. And I think as an introvert, that's what I've always looked for, right? Is those type of friendships are so important for me is, people who accept me for who I am. And there isn't really any negotiations. You just see each other for who you are. You're there for each other. You're good people. You're good humans. And yeah, you just brighten each other's lives. And that's what it means for me.
Thank you for sharing that story. The feeling is so fully mutual. I remember that day of like bouncing into your office, like full Tigger from Winnie the Pooh and just being like, hi. And I remember you looking a little shell-shocked of like, what is this? What just bounced in here? It's so funny because I had Billy on the show yesterday and we were talking about how we met and immediately started laughing and telling jokes and like taking the piss and like the other one just being like, ha ha. I'm going with you. And I feel like that's how it was for us. And that's part of how I knew that we had the potential to be like BFFs forever. Forever is redundant because in the BF, so BF forever. But yeah, I just started cracking jokes and you started snapping right back. So wry and witty you are.
Thank you. Yes. It's part of the training.
As a Canadian.
As a Canadian, yes, absolutely.
What do you think it is that sustains friendship? over the long haul? Because I hear that a lot. People are like, it's really hard to make adult friendships and then it's super hard to sustain them. We get busy and blah, blah, blah.
I think for me personally is I don't really have that many expectations for my friendships. It's really like to see each other for who you are, be good people, be good humans, be able to rely on each other. Like I have friendships where like we can honestly go 2 years without speaking with each other. And then like we can see each other for a weekend and have the most amazing time. And, you know, for example, I have a friend who's out in Colorado and we'll do this. Like, you know, life gets chaotic. We don't talk. And then we'll get on the phone and it's like nothing has happened. Or, you know, she'll be in town and we'll just spend an amazing day together. And if she calls me today and is like, I need you, I am getting on a plane and I'm getting there. And I think that's what it takes is, yes, like everyone's life is totally chaotic. And I understand that. And it's okay with me that, you know, when you have that connection, it's okay if I'm not talking to you all the time. You know, it's not like middle school where, you know, you need that, you know, 10 times a day, like, you know, call me, text me. I don't know, send me a million memes. Like, I know when that love is there, it's okay. Like when that connection's there, like, I'm going to be there for you. I know that person's going to be there for me. So as long as I have that trust, like, I'm cool.
That. So my nerds, Dr. Sanae Kusari is describing secure attachment. And that's what I'm hearing, right? Is that you're securely attached with your friends. And from knowing you for the last 9 going on 10 years, I would believe that that is because you have such a secure attachment to yourself, which I think is one of the most beautiful things. Like you're you, like how I'm like, hello, I'm a banana boat. Like I am, you know, all of the energy. You're just so solidly you. I would imagine that that's what allows you to be so securely attached with us. Am I getting that right?
You're the pro.
Oh, stop it. Also, for the record, if we went 2 years without talking to each other, I think I would explode and die.
Oh, yes, absolutely. With you, that is not acceptable.
Okay, unacceptable.
Also, like, you might be, like, lost in the woods, like, upstate somewhere. So I'd be very worried.
Thank you. You are a grounding compass for me, I must say. I like that we do like effectively wellness checks where you're like, knock, knock. Are you alive? Are you okay? Did you die of complete boredom and loneliness upstate? Like, what's going on? Are you alive? Are you okay? And I'm like, I'm getting through. Remember when we went to the Statue of Liberty?
Oh, yes, that was amazing.
Okay, that's the kind of thing for me is that when my inner children can just be fully free to just be their kid selves, without any limitations, that's one of the most important, beautiful gifts. Like, we were running around like silly gooses.
We were riding boats.
It was so much fun. I definitely cried at Ellis Island. Did you?
I felt it here.
Okay, you felt it deep in your heart.
Yeah. I felt it deep in my heart.
Okay, great. I appreciate that. Yeah, next time we have to go to the tuberculosis hospital. Doc, anything else you want to make sure the good people know when they're thinking about friendships?
I think friendships really are what sustain us. And I guess something to share about me is I myself, I'm an immigrant. And I think without knowing the words chosen family, it's what I've looked for since I was a child, you know, for people who had similar life experiences as me. And since I was a kid, those friendships, people who really understood my lived experience and, you know, who you didn't have to explain what you were going through, who just like saw you for who you were. You know, that's really, I think, what has helped me thrive over the course of my life, you know, in a way that my family didn't understand, you know, in a way that I myself might have not even understood what I was going through just by seeing how my friends were just living their lives and interacting with the world and just kind of were like, you know, if I was saying something personally, they were like, yeah, no big deal. You know, like I don't take it for granted. And I just say, look for those people, you know, look for the helpers, look for the people who love you for you and surround yourself with those type of people. And it doesn't have to be huge, right? It's not a popularity contest. For me, it's always been a small core group of people. And that's why I love you and I love my friends. And I cherish all these relationships and I value you.
Thank you. I value you too. I really cherish everything that you bring to my life. And thank you for naming chosen family out loud. It's such an important concept. And the more we can treat our friends like our most beloved family, they can enrich our lives. I mean, you said it so beautifully. I don't even know why I'm trying to sum it up. You said it perfectly. So thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, eldest immigrant daughter. Ooh, we've seen each other through some family shenanigans. I just listed out like 27 bananas things each of our parents have done over this last 10 years. Mm-hmm. What are you going to do? Because it is a really unique experience. I mean, you're also a double immigrant, right?
Yeah.
Like
triple.
Iran and Canada. Triple. Right. Sure. Yeah. Yes. Yeah. So anything else to add? I feel like you said so much, like it's so helpful for so many people. Yeah.
I'm just excited for our dumpling cookie extravaganza.
I'm really excited. Yeah, let's make it wild. Maybe we should go up in the CN Tower and have our cookies and dumplings there.
Now that's an idea.
That is an idea. All right, we'll work it out. We'll let everybody know. We'll post pictures. It'll be a good time. Oh, Dr. Sanae Kusari. And for the record, y'all, 99% of the time call her Dr. Sanae Kusari, MD, because a woman of color, physician, immigrant, like she deserves her credentials named like an obnoxious amount because she has worked her butt off and she's so smart. That's the other thing. I'm so proud of you.
Thank you. And I'm so proud of you for talking about admiration for our friends.
Yeah.
To see you live out your life dreams and to be able to have such reach to help so many people. I'm just in complete awe, like to reflect back on 9 years ago when you were talking about what you're talking about now to like individual patients and how much impact it had to like one person sitting in an exam room with you to the work that you're doing now is just so awe-inspiring and so wonderful. And it just warms my heart. And I'm so happy for you. And I'm just so excited for everybody who gets to learn from you and to grow because of everything that they learned from you.
And likewise, you worked your way up in primary care and became this fancy medical director at the primary care group we met at. And now you have your own private practice. I'll link in the show notes. And you inspire me. I think that's like one of the key things, right? You inspire me. And you're hilarious. Thank you.
Thank you.
Mwah.
Love you.
Love you. Ciao. Hi, Jules.
Hi.
Thanks for coming on the show.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah. I would love it if you could introduce yourself to the good people.
Well, my name is Jules Netherland. I am trained as a medical sociologist. I work at an organization called the Drug Policy Alliance. I live in the South Bronx, and I have the great good fortune of calling you one of my friends.
The feeling is very, very deeply, deeply mutual. And everybody, Jules is being extremely humble. I am very lucky that my friends do incredible work and are wildly inspiring. She is playing this really huge, important role in ending the drug war. And it's incredible work. And I'm really grateful that you're doing it. So yeah, you're magical. So I brought you on because I love you. And we tell each other pretty much every day. Like, it's rare that it'll be like 3 days that one of us won't have sent just like, I love you in a text or like a little voice note that's like, I love you. Okay, that's mostly me. Like, I love you. Jules and I have matching llama tattoos, which is a really long story, but an ode to our never-ending love and llamas. So you and I have talked a lot about the role of platonic love and friendship in our lives, in our wellness, in supporting us. And so I was hoping you could talk about that.
Yeah, I think my thinking about this has really evolved over the years. Like, I was someone who was very introverted and shy. And I actually got very deliberate about building a friendship network as an adult in my 40s, in fact. And I am so glad I did. I think it's one of the best things I've ever done for my health and wellness and just outlook on life. And for me, it was finding the right folks. And I always joke that I've made my best friends at silent meditation retreats. And I actually have made a ton of friends at silent meditation retreats because what I like are people that are like sort of introspective and thoughtful and willing to look at themselves. And so, yeah, now I have this great collection of friends, not all from silent meditation retreats, but many of them are. I love them deeply and dearly. And I spend quite a bit of time trying to foster and nurture those connections. And, as a queer person, I consider them my chosen family. And that's been really kind of beautiful. Like, I think that's one of the great opportunities that we all have is like surround yourself with the people that you love, the people that bring you joy, the people that show up for you, the people that you want to show up for. And, I feel like I've built a really wonderful collection of people. And it turns out, for me in particular, but I think for all of us, that became even more critically important when I was diagnosed with cancer and then had a recurrence and was diagnosed with metastatic terminal cancer. And I got to say, my friends continue to show up for me. I have something called the Love Squad, which I know you know because you are on the Love Squad, which is a small group of about 5 or 6 people that are really tracking and supporting me and loving me through this treatment. And then I have this network of like 60 or 70 people. I don't know how I ended up with all these connections that I can tap when I need to go to an appointment or I just feel like crap or whatever. And then, of course, the best thing to do with the friends is just to play.
Yay.
So that's some of my thinking about it.
Yeah. I'm thinking about this journey of yours from self-proclaimed introvert with like that smaller friend network to making this big decision, like, basta. I'm going to like spread my wings, grow my friend family. There's always that like, it's so hard to make friends as an adult. And you are evidence. You don't have to believe that story. So could you share a bit about what that looked like for you, such that you might inspire others? I find you wicked inspiring as a extrovert,
same.
Gregarious. Yeah. So
yeah, I think for me, it was a combination of things. It was like really realizing I wanted more connection. It was believing that I was worthy of that connection, that I was somebody people would want to hang out with and get to know, and that I was interesting and, could be engaging and connect. Right. And then a lot of it was honestly just going outside my comfort zone and like putting myself out there. But like I said, for me, I think what the key was for me, just the way I work is I really am good at dyads. Groups are not my jam. I have a very hard time making connections in groups. So parties and that kind of thing, no. But, I joined a queer Sangha and they do little dyadic conversations and then I could build from there, right? Or I took some classes and like things for me that were kind of structured that put me into connection with people made the difference. And am I allowed to say that like I also made a lot of friends dating?
I mean, Jules, come on, you're allowed to do anything you want. You're grown up. You silly. Okay, so I heard the cutest thing. Let's get you to the pond. You're such a silly goose. Isn't that cute?
Yeah.
Anyway, made a lot of friends dating. Yeah.
I made a lot of friends dating, which was perfect for me because it's a dyad. and dyads are my jam. And I'm like, I don't necessarily want to have a romantic relationship with you, but I really want to have a friend relationship with you.
Yeah.
And so I collected some really wonderful, wonderful people that way.
I love that. It's interesting. This just popped into my brain, the concept of a competency crush. We talked about this in Anchored a couple of years ago and no one had heard of it, which made me wonder if it was like a lesbian thing. But I'm realizing like I have such a competency crush on you, on Sanae, who was in this episode, on Juana. Like, my friends are so competent and like do such incredible things in the world. My heart feels so explodey thinking about you and the way you move through the world and the way you relate to people.
Thanks. Yeah, no, I know what you mean. I actually crushed out on someone in a bartender the other day because they were so good at their job. I was like, you're amazing.
You're incredible. I love competency. Like, it doesn't really matter what you're doing. Like, it's not a pretension thing, right? Like, it doesn't have to be some highbrow thing. Like, yeah, like when a waitress has like 12 plates on a tray and doesn't drop.
Amazing.
Like, I can barely cross a room without spilling my drink, right? And I don't mean booze, I mean water, amazing. Right?
Yeah. Yeah, I think the other thing, that made a difference for me was like, I've never been, I think, particularly judgmental, but just like, I really find people fascinating and interesting, and I really believe like everybody, has a competence, has a story, has something to give, has something to contribute, has the ability to enrich my life. And it's certainly proven true. And so I think that kind of having that sense of like curiosity and wonder and like interest in people, you know, and people respond in kind, I think, you know, like mostly what I do with my friends is like listen and show up, you know, and then it's returned. So yeah, it's amazing.
If you've ever been on a call with me, you see my Because Science mug. Jules gifted me that. So you can thank her for bringing that to life. I was thinking, as you were talking about friends, amazing. One of the things that's become really clear for me recently is exactly what I don't want in friends, like what I don't want in the people I spend time with, and which is not judging them. It's just getting clear for me on my preferences, like a lot of booze, like when like all the hangouts, the circle around like alcohol and cocktails are like the focus. I'm not dissing it. I'm not judging it. I'm just not into it. You know, how has it been for you to get clarity on what you do and don't want in friendship? What's that look like?
Yeah, I mean, I have a very eclectic group of friends, you know, which is kind of fun. And it's really fun when you put them together. But I think for me, honestly, I know I've said this before, but like, I'm not good with groups and parties. I don't enjoy them. You know, people, that's how they want to hang out. It's just not my jam. I like having deep conversations with people. I mean, I like to be silly too, you know, and I like to be active. So a lot of my friendship stuff is around working out or being outside or that kind of stuff.
Or dragging us all into doing a mud run.
Yeah, mud run's awesome. Great way to spend time with friends. But what I don't do very well, and again, no judgment, is like superficiality. Like, don't talk to me about pop culture because the conversation will end immediately. I know nothing.
I feel like I could talk a lot about 80s pop culture or like 90s. Like if you want to talk about Alf, Perfect Stranger, I can go on for a while. But yeah, I'm with you.
You know, I'm actually have a lot of interest in spirituality and religion. And so I really like people that are willing to go there with me. I think it's really understanding like, what is it you like? How do you like to spend your time? You know, what are the kind of people you vibe with? And mine are a really mixed bag, but I think what they have in common is like they're willing to go deep.
In friendships, you have to be willing to go deep and to go deep pretty fast, but also, to be a complete silly goose. I must say, I do love like BS, how's the weather, small talk with strangers.
I know you do. And I cannot small talk to save my life. I am terrible at it. And my partner is amazing at it. And I marvel at her capacity to talk to anybody about anything at any time. I am just not that person.
But I love that you surround yourself with big, bold, gregarious femmes who will talk to anyone at the farmer's market and the pharmacy and everywhere else. So you can just stand there and look strong.
I'll carry the bags.
Oh.
I also feel like as I've gotten older, I've gotten much more comfortable around having those differences. Yeah, you be gregarious and silly and, you know, loud and whatever. And like, I can celebrate that for you, even if I am different, you know?
That's so beautiful. Yeah, I feel like when I was really deep in my codependent habits, I would have judged myself for those kinds of differences, right? Or I would have made it mean there's something lacking about me or like I didn't measure up.
Yeah, I think for me, you know, like really trying to understand and sink into my most authentic self has allowed me to just get really comfortable in my own skin, but also to be very accepting of other people and their differences. Like, I don't want us all to be alike. You and I are very different.
Oh, yeah.
We're very, very different.
Yeah.
And like, it doesn't matter at all to me. I mean, except I celebrate it, you know?
Right. It's pretty fun.
I don't need to be like my friends in that way.
Yeah. I find it so healing and just so expanding in my heart every time I look down at my phone and it's you going, I love you.
Yeah, it's sweet to receive it and to give it. Yeah, you know, like, and for me, text communication has been a great way to stay in touch. And a lot of my friends are not nearby. And so I do phone dates. I do virtual dates, which is a little bit hard because I'm on Zoom all day, but I do it anyway. Like I have a game night with one of my friends every week.
Cute.
Play games online, you know, and then like for the people that are farther away, I try to set up like, let's get together, you know, once a month or once every other month or whatever. There's nothing like in-person time if you can make it happen.
Yeah. And I think it's really important what you're saying when that's not easily possible. Like my beloved friend April moved to Scotland in the pandemic.
Rude.
Super rude though, right? Seriously, someone needs to talk to her. Dr. Blake, move back. But, it's challenging to meet up in person, but shifting expectations, right? And for me, like not telling the story, like, no, we have to have a coffee date or we won't be as close. I feel like the pandemic for me really helped me to reestablish that like non-in-person ways of connecting are just as powerful, right?
What I found is sometimes it is just a simple I love you text or a silly meme or like just let people know that you're thinking about them and that they're on your mind, Like I have a couple of friends who I text or call regularly and leave messages for who like maybe reciprocate 1 out of 15 of those. But they always tell me like, oh my God, it means so much to me, and like, I know that you're thinking about me and I really appreciate it, and I don't have the capacity to reciprocate, but like, I still love you. And I'm so glad that you're doing that. And that's the other thing I think I learned over the years is like every gesture doesn't have to be reciprocated, for there to be a meaningful relationship. I've had it on both sides. Like I have a high school friend and I'm in my 50s who like just adores me and like pours all this love and attention on me. And I'm terrible about reciprocating. And he's like, I don't care. I'm just going to love on you, and then when we get together, it's like, lovey, lovey, lovey. And so, that capacity to understand that friendships have different rhythms and different seasons, and to give your friends like that kind of space and graciousness, like the tether is somewhat attenuated. It doesn't mean it's not going to come back together, having a little more ease and flow, I think has really benefited me over the years.
Yeah. When that core connection, when that heart connection has been established, right? For me, it's when that effort is reciprocal and mutual in order to establish connection. It's like our hearts have strings between them. Right? Exactly. Like little threads. Like when we were kids and we'd play telephone with 2 tin cans and a string, it never really worked, but at least not for me. Maybe it's more like walkie-talkies. There's walkie-talkies between our hearts, with Radio Shack batteries. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's beautiful. I love that. I love what you're sharing about giving folks the grace because we're all moving through our own things we're moving through, right?
Yeah. And when I don't hear from someone for a while and I reconnect, it's almost always because, shit hit the fan for them. And how nice is it when you're in that place and you still get sweet little texts and notices that they're thinking about you, even though you're like underwater.
Yeah. That's a really sweet, tender thing. It really is. Oh, Jules, you're so magnificent.
Well, we have a mutual adoration society.
It's a pretty good one. Yeah. Well, anything else you want to make sure to share with the good people?
I would say it's never too late to make friends. It's never too late to build out that network, and it's worth what might feel like effort or risk.
Yeah.
And that there are people out there waiting to love you.
Oh, I love that. When talking with Billy, a good friend of mine who's a dating coach, I expressed exactly who I wanted to date. And I was like, I don't know if that person exists. And he was like, well, because you exist, that person exists, right? Because someone as amazing as you exist, that person who you're looking to date exists. And I think that friend that we're all looking for, those new friends, they're out there because you are. Ah, Thank you. Thank you. Hey, I'm going to embarrass you. You ready? She has a new book out. Will you tell the good people?
I work in drug policy and I have a book out with 2 co-authors called Whiteout. And it is about the racial politics of the opioid crisis. It's a real page turner.
I bought it to read on the beach, I got to tell you.
But no, actually, it was quite a labor of love. And honestly, speaking of platonic friends, my 2 co-authors are 2 very close friends now. And I feel that is how I met them. So you could write a book with people to meet them. That's a way.
There's no better way to make friends than writing a book.
But thank you for the plug. And thank you for the opportunity to be on your podcast and to tell the good people what a good friend you are. I'm grateful for you.
Likewise. I'm super duper grateful for you. Well, thank you. Thank you. And I love you. And I'll talk to you soon.
I love you too.
Hola, Juana.
Hola, Envy.
¿Qué tal?
Hola, hermana. I'm good. Estoy súper feliz de estar con vos hoy.
Oh, eso también. Bueno, por favor, si podrías en English introducirte a la gente. If you could share your name and your pronoun and whose land you're on, that'd be so great.
Good morning, or good afternoon, or whatever time of day it might be. My name is Juana. The pronouns are she or they. I'm talking to you today from Toronto, which is the traditional territory of many nations, including the Mississauga, the Anishinaabe, the Chippewa, the Haudenosaunee, the Wendat, and it's still home to many diverse Indigenous people today. And I'm really grateful to live on this territory and to do so with a commitment to writing relations.
Thank you, Juan. I'm so excited you're here. This is our 25th anniversary of being friends.
Yeah.
Wow. We met in a nightclub in Buenos Aires, Argentina in 1999, like you do. We are both Argentine, which every Spanish speaker immediately knew from listening to us just chat for 2 seconds. And yeah, I'm excited to talk about friendship with you. I feel like we don't talk enough about how vital and life-giving and restorative and supportive platonic love is and friendship is. And I know you have a lot to say, so I'll just hush my little buttons.
Yeah, well, you know what? I was thinking about like 5 things that I feel like are really important to cultivating platonic love and friendship. And for me, I was really feeling like the first one is kind of like tuning into presence. Kind of have to be tuned into ourselves to be able to kind of tune in and connect with others and open up to others. And I feel like it's been through sort of being present with myself that I've been able to kind of like create space to show up for my friends and to also kind of like let my friends show up for me. It's really like about kind of building that 2-way street. And I was thinking a lot about like for us, like we've navigated this relationship across a long distance. And like for me, the kind of key around connecting isn't necessarily like the physical proximity, but just like how present we've been around each other. And I was thinking about how much I've learned from you about being present, feeling like, okay, what I wanted to ask you, it's like, is it the starting point to friendship or is it just like the starting point to living?
Being present? Yeah. I mean, I think yes. The answer is yes, right? I know that I'm so much more available for authentic, real connection when I'm in presence, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Because when I'm not present, when I'm distracted, when I'm trying to do a thing, you know, like back in the day when we were trying to be cool. Oh my God, it was so tiring. You know, in trying to be cool, we're not being ourselves. We're not being authentic. We're trying to play a role. I mean, it's like the core of everything I work on, right? We're trying to get someone else to think something about us because we believe that will make us feel safe or make us actually safe. It never does because they're just loving a false self, right?
Yeah. So I was thinking that it's through presence, like that's the starting point, and then move to sort of like cultivating reciprocity in friendship. Thinking about how presence is sort of like that moment in tending to a garden where you're like digging the little rows to plant the seeds in, you know, you've got to kind of create that space and then like things can kind of grow from there. And then, yeah, just like I was thinking about a lot about reciprocity, like sort of about really seeing and listening to people you're in friendship with and also like being seen and heard. And I feel like that's something we've been really able to cultivate with each other. And like, I just think about how much fun there's been in like points of connection that we've had. Yeah. For sure, being Argentine is one of them. And just like getting to share a mate together and just to like sing Mercedes Sosa songs together. Have like a shared frame of reference for like the dictatorship in Argentina and what's that meant in our lives and for our families. Yeah. The whole empanada, you know?
The whole empanada.
Yeah. So, you know, you talked about like meeting in a nightclub in 1990. And, you know, I was like thinking to what it was to sort of like be those young selves and just like, I mean, I hope I didn't step on your toes while we were dancing, but I might have, you know, part of like just the being vulnerable and like making mistakes and just like finding that reciprocity with each other, that kind of giving and sharing, that seeing and being seen. And I was thinking like, it feels a little bit like a secret sauce to friendship. Do you feel like that resonates with you at all?
Yeah, allowing the ebb and flow. And I was thinking a quick note on presence. A lot of people come to me not really understanding how to step into presence and like what that means and what that looks like. And I totally get that because I didn't get it for a long time. And part of why I wanted to talk about friendships, because they are such a beautiful place to practice, right? For those of us who come from emotional outsourcing, from codependent, perfectionist, and people-pleasing households, our attachment styles aren't about our adult relationships, right? They're what we learned in childhood for survival, right? So I can't be in insecure attachment with like an adult partner, right? Because they're about survival, they're survival skills. And I can live without my adult partner, right? That said, that stuff gets triggered in adult relationships and romantic relationships because they're the closest thing we have to a survival relationship, right? So we can use the playground of friendship to try out like, okay, so I can be really open with Juana. What's going to happen? Is she going to be open with me? Is she going to meet me? Is she going to reject me? Like, what's going to happen?
Yeah, it's about navigating those boundaries, isn't it?
Yeah. And limits.
Like that really resonates for me. And that's kind of like, been like a gift of our friendship. And I think like a gift of friendships, right? Is to be able to put on our training wheels or like be in that playground with each other around limits. And
I just heard, who can I be and still be loved? We get to practice that. And like, what's the limit of that today? How much can my nervous system stay regulated around? Right. And how much can I be met? And what do I need to do to then build more strength and resilience and capacity within myself to step, 1% further into my authenticity?
Yeah. And just like being able to honor that and like the ways that with our friends, we can be talking about how we're kind of growing into ourselves or setting our boundaries in relationships. Like friendships are sometimes a place where you can go and be like, hey, I tried setting this limit. Here's how it went. Like to have a sounding board,
Right. Building that trust with friends, I think, particularly when we're doing this work of overcoming codependent thinking is so vital because for me, earlier on in this work, I had no idea what was real and what was true. What was what? What was the like machinations of my survival skills and my mind? And like, when was I actually being treated poorly? When was someone actually being a jerk or a meanie pants? And when was it my brain, like my habits, like when was it me and when was it not? And running that by the people I love helps me to see it more betterly. You know what I mean?
100%. And like, that feels like such a good segue to the fourth thing I was thinking about, which is like through friendship, you can kind of like really explore like life's fullness. Like life is going to be lifey. Full stop. Friends might get you through that, but also just like the moments of joy and celebration that you can create with friends, like they really sustain us,
Yeah.
Like there can just, like be such an ebb and flow to life. I think about just the ways that like friendship has been such a place of solace at times for me. And of just being kind of seen in the grief for the hard moments of life.
Yeah.
And I think like that's what feels real about friendship for me is where we can kind of hold all of those spaces. It kind of feels like where magic lives for me in friendship. Do you have a sense of like where magic lives for you in friendship?
Wow, I'm just processing that. That's where that magic lives. Yeah. For me, I have this tight-knit group of incredible humans. Like, text me, I love you all the time. I was thinking about reciprocity and how much I used to overgive from fear and worry, right? Of like my energy, but also like presence and things and time and like, love me. I'm scared I'm not lovable. I have to tap dance for this lovability. And now you and I have this really balanced gift giving thing that is so much fun. Like we always show up to each other's house or with little cositas and it's so sweet.
And I think too, because of the distance between us, like I love around my house and seeing like little gifts you've given me. They feel like little breadcrumbs, that just like in some ways are a little trail, a little reminder that are like, oh, this gorgeous glass blown ornament that Envy gave to me. And I'm going to text her a little, I love you. Yeah, just like these little breadcrumb trails to remember to tend to each other and to like also connect. I think especially because of the distance, right? We can't just pop over to each other's houses. So we've got to find other ways. Not yet.
Not yet. Yeah,
Not yet.
Someday. I'll look forward to that day. Yeah. It really is such a balm, the love that I feel from my friends. It's such a gift to be able to express that love. And know that it'll be well received, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Where I currently live, someone who I was building what I thought was a really beautiful friendship with, she just ghosted. She owed me an apology after messing up. made a big deal about how, oh, I'll make it up to you. I'm so sorry I effed up. This was last September. It's now February and I still haven't heard from her. Right. So it's just a really interesting thing to step into a level of emotional maturity, which we talk about so much here. Right. Where we can be an adult and use our words, which is so challenging so often. I don't think either of us is out here like, do you know what's super easy is to like tell someone you don't want to be their friend. No, it's challenging. It's just such a reminder for me of the importance of my integrity and honoring my dignity and that of others. Also, we can get so conflict avoidant, right? That's when we end up ghosting. And that I think is like the grand scale of dehumanization that's happening, like writ large across the planet, right? We don't treat each other like humans.
Totally. And this is the thing about like doing the work and skilling up in some ways in terms of our ability to be in relationships too, is that also you can see that experience that just happened around ghosting.
Oh, like 1,000,000%. And for me, I really took it as the gift of a reminder of how much I've grown thanks to the work of so many who've come before me, who've paved the way. I mean, it was just Audre Lorde and Toni Morrison's birthday. Like, that's exciting, right? So like thinking of so many poets and writers and psychologists and brilliant and amazing humans and amazing friends who have shown me what it means to stand in my dignity.
Yeah, totally. I mean, I think that's the thing for me about friendship is like, I feel like through friendship, I kind of like nurture my own heart. Also, like there's a piece of it that really feels like it's about nurturing like a kind of collective heart of community too. And friends and the communities that we're building and that we're contributing to. It kind of like reminds me of like a thing I might have heard you say once or twice. When we heal ourselves, we help heal the world.
Oh,
I think there's such a part of that connects to friendship for me too. Yeah, about ourselves, nurturing ourselves in relationship and like the collective heart of community.
Right. Which is really extending the story of what love is possible beyond a romantic dyad. Like you and I are both in really super loving, amazing relationships, and we love each other. That builds more love. And then I love your kids, and that builds more love. And it just ripples out and out and out. More love, more love, more love.
Yeah. I mean, you were just thinking about like a really strong queer lineage around building chosen family. That's what you are to me. And I feel that's what true friendship does. Like it builds that chosen family. And I feel like that's such a beautiful inheritance.
Yeah. And Sanae actually talked about the same theme of chosen family, right? And for her, it was from the angle of being an immigrant, right? And how there's challenges, we are all immigrant daughters. And like, there are challenges when you have such a vast cultural shift, right? To this new world, to Canada and the US from where we came from, that we can understand in each other the way our parents just can't. They're a different generation. In some ways, it feels like from a different planet at times, right? In terms of communication and other skills, which is not a diss, y'all. It's actually me creating spaciousness. Like I honor that you're coming from somewhere really different than where we got planted as kiddos. And so the chosen family that we can create as immigrants is such a gift because no one gets it who's not us, right?
Yeah. And I think sometimes like the stories around chosen family, they come out of like a rejection or an alienation from our families of origin. And sometimes they do. They don't necessarily have to like coexist, right?
Yeah.
This notion of like, we don't have to be like stingy or greedy with our love. Like our love is something expansive with like enough to go around, plenty.
Yeah. And the more often I text you or Jules or Sanae or Erin, like, I love you. I love you. It's Wednesday morning at 10. I love you. It's Thursday at 2 and I love you. Whatever. I love you. The more I get that back, right? And it creates so much more love for me to then, like, when I go to the YMCA to work out, I'm like that much kinder to the sweet kiddo at the front desk because I just got a text from you that says, I love you out of nowhere.
Yeah. And I just think about like someone who's maybe not ready to say I love you because it's hard to say I love you to a friend, but just like the kitten steps, right? And you send someone a cute meme to let them know you're thinking about them. Like, like just so many ways that we can begin to like build those connections.
Yeah. it's so important that relationships take cultivation. I love your garden metaphor, right? It really does take cultivation. And yeah, sending the text, sending the email, sending the snail mail, making postcards, right? Or taking a picture. It doesn't have to be about capitalism and buying your friends presents. You can say, take a picture of something and say, like, I'm at the store and I saw this and thought of you. That's so nice.
Yeah, I'm just thinking about the garden and like my mind is wandering out to my garden, but just like feeling connected to like the lands that we live on and what we've got to learn from like what's happening in the natural world around us, including what it has to teach us about friendship. Lots of lessons there.
I was just thinking about winter and soup and how much I want to have you over. We can have soup. Wouldn't that be so nice?
That would be so nice. I love it when you send me pictures of the soup that you are making.
I love sending food pictures. I know it's so silly. We were talking about this in Anchor a couple weeks ago of like someone was feeling like it's really hard to make adult friendships because she doesn't know what to talk about. And she puts a lot of pressure on herself to like say the right things or talk about something profound. And I don't have much tolerance for like BS small talk with people I want to connect with. With a taxi driver, it's my favorite. It's so much fun. But you and I go deep, but we also do talk a lot about food. And I don't know, hikes and like just the quotidian, right? It's just like a place to share your everyday life.
Yeah. Well, I think all of it is important, right? Like it can also be overwhelming to kind of be getting to know someone and like to feel like they're just diving right into like something really deep. Like sometimes you've got to like take those kitten steps, right? And kind of move into friendships with like awareness. And I'd say, you know, that's over like building a friendship, but even like in the context of a conversation, right? Like sometimes I think there's that piece too around like, are we building into a conversation and making sure like the other person like consents to? And I feel like something I've really loved about the friendship between us is like, you know, I think we both have grown a lot in that way, but there's like a check-in, you know, like really a consent piece over our friendship and our conversations and where we go with our conversations.
Yeah. Can we give the good people an example for folks who haven't heard this kind of languaging? We've talked about it on the show before, but I think it's important.
Are you looking to me to come up with an example?
No, I can do it. I can do it.
Do it.
Okay, great. Hey, Juana, I just had a really challenging conversation with someone and I'd really like to just vent about it. I don't need any advice. I don't actually want any advice. I really just need to be heard. Are you available for that?
Yeah, I'm here. I can listen.
Thank you. How about, Juana, I just don't know where to go with this decision around this work thing. Are you available to hear me and like maybe give me some advice?
Yeah, I love problem solving. I know
you do. Okay, Capricorn.
You know, I love in both of those examples, like you really like clearly stated what you needed from me. And I feel like I have a job to do then to kind of like listen and honor that, right?
Yeah.
And in the like first example, you were like, I need to be heard. I really need to hold that in that conversation.
Well, do you feel comfortable asking me one so I can do an example of saying no? Because, that's hard if you don't know how to do it. Or if you've never heard it.
Okay. I just had a really hard interaction with my mom.
Sure.
Felt really triggered. And it's feeling really unresolved for me. And I'm not even sure what I need.
Yeah. Oh, my love. Well, first of all, I'm so sorry that happened. I know you love her. And I know for me, when parental conversations go sort of sideways, it can be just activates so much little kid stuff. I am on a really tight deadline for work and I really want to honor what you're sitting with right now. But I know that 96% of my brain is like, you have to get this email written in the next hour. So I don't want to be rude to you or not honor you and your needs. And I don't want to feel stressed out while I'm listening to you. Can we meet up in an hour and I can give you my full attention then? Would that work for you?
Yeah, that works. Oh, like it just felt so good to hear.
Isn't it so nice?
It goes back to our training wheel comment, right? Being able to, in friendships, like both assert those limits. Like I feel like what it does for me and what it's done in the context of our friendship is like create this deep trust because I feel I can trust when you say yes, no, or maybe to me.
Right.
Yeah.
Oh, such a gift. Yeah. Likewise. I always trust your word. There's something magical about when someone tells you no Nope, I can't do it. I'm not interested. I'm not available. The yes is so much more yesier.
And when we've grown up people pleasing, like the no is hard.
Yeah. Until it's not though, right?
Mm-hmm.
Take some practice. So why not practice with your friends?
There's no reason not to.
Yeah. Ay, mi Juana, I feel like we could talk forever and ever.
And Mana, it's been so nice to connect with you. I love you.
I love you too.
I'm your biggest fan.
Gracias, igualmente. All right, te mando un beso.
Bye. Mwah.
My love, thank you so much for tuning into this episode. It has been so beautiful to talk about the power of friendship and platonic love. It has been such a healing source of sustenance for me, lo these many years. A bell hooks quote comes to mind. One of the most vital ways we sustain ourselves is by building communities of resistance, places where we know we are not alone. With that in mind, I'll invite you to release the story that it's hard to make friends as an adult. I'm not saying it's not. What I'm saying is if you focus on that, it will feel so much harder than it needs to. And I will then invite you to look for friends, to look for connection, to look for community around the things that matter to you, around the things that you value and cherish. If it's activism, join an activist community. If it's ceramics, join a ceramics community. If you have a kid with epilepsy, find other parents of kids with disabilities or kids with medical challenges. If you want to learn a foreign language, o sea, look for people who have similar interests and values with you. It's similar advice to what I've shared around dating and romantic relationships. When we can connect around what really matters, we make connections that matter, right? So with that, I leave you. And thank you again for listening. If you are ready to get the kind of loving care and support I know you deserve as you work to overcome your own emotional outsourcing, to build vibrant friendships and romantic relationships, I would be profoundly honored and grateful to be your coach. Head on over to victoriaalbina.com/anchored to learn all about my 6-month life coaching and somatics program. We also do breath work. We work on mind, body, and spirit in community, in collective. It's my favorite place on earth. I share my 20 plus years in health, wellness, somatics, psychology. I'm pretty obsessed with Anchored, and I don't use colloquial terms like I'm so obsessed with it a lot, but I wake up thinking about Anchored. I go to sleep thinking about Anchored in a really healthy way. Don't worry. But it's just my favoriteest thing. And I always am thinking, how can I make it a little better today? And so it's so much fun. And I'd love to have you join us. All right, my angel, let's do what we do. Gentle hand on your heart should you feel so moved. And remember, you are safe. You are held. You are loved. And when one of us heals, we help heal the world. Thanks for listening, my beauty. I'll talk to you soon. Thank you for listening to this episode of Feminist Wellness. If you want to learn more all about somatics, what the heck that word means and why it matters for your life, head on over to victoriaalbina.com/somatics webinar for a free webinar all about it. Have a beautiful day, my darling, and I'll see you next week. Ciao.